Hey everyone, Margarita here. This is part 2 of everything I was explaining on the long-term manipulation of my children and the long-term fallout of all of that, mixed with the long-term fallout of all of the ongoing crimes which have now turned into RICO crimes that my mother is at the root of, that she's been committing for decades. It began when I was a small child and then continued on, and once I cut ties at 18 and bought my first home, it still continued on. Immediately, she began using large agencies to continue harassing me on her behalf, placing delusional phone calls to all these people and agencies who then believed everything she was saying to be real and continued this on for decades. This is still going on today. The fallout of each situation creates another situation. So you got one situation here, then there's fallout from that one, and then these 3 situations are still going on. Then there's fallout from that one, there's more. And then you got, now there's fallout because each of these situations still going on. She keeps it going, then there's more and more, and it's gotten to the point where there's this giant web of fallout from ongoing decades of crimes. This all began when I was a small child, yes, and then continued on at age 18 when I bought my first home, cut her out, cut her entire family out. She continued on with a false narrative about me, making people believe that she had custody of and raised my older 2 kids, which led to all of these ongoing crimes, chaos. The fallout of each continued on and on and on. And then once I became extremely injured at the beginning of 2018, it created so much fallout that is all still going on today, because more catastrophic life events happened from that point forward. And all of those the fallout of all of those are still ongoing today. So all of my current problems, every problem in my life, ties back to my mother's ongoing crimes and the crimes of the people in large agencies she uses to help her. This has been going on for so long that the fallout is so extreme and my life is so extremely chaotic, and I'm so injured from the initial injury. So you have to watch part 1 first to understand what I'm talking about now of the video I just released. You're going to have to watch that to understand where things are today for me, because there isn't other individuals out in the world living in the situation I'm in. And because I generate 100% of my own income and was doing this before my injury, and the fact that I'm self-made, self-built, and I built everything to the degree in life where I have things by myself, the fallout is so extensive and so extreme, especially due to my injuries. And the injury is continuous. The fallout from the injury itself is continuous. The symptoms are continuous. It has never gone away from the day it became very extreme. Although there was continuous symptoms and problems from day 1, from the time I gave birth while suffering from the carbon monoxide poisoning, it didn't become extreme for about 2 years later almost. That's when it fully became known something is extremely wrong. That was another huge catastrophic life event. That was the turning point where there's no going back. There's no fixing what has happened. There's no coming back from that point forward. But because of my mother's ongoing crimes and her as a Beaumont employee in the medical system, that made it much more worse. So all of these issues that have gone on from that point to this point has created numerous catastrophic life events. The fallout from all of those is still ongoing right now, while I'm dealing with the initial medical emergency that was left untreated and the continuous waxing and waning symptoms that I deal with every day, all day. And then the 5 brain injuries I also have as well, secondary to the carbon monoxide poisoning, because it is initially the carbon monoxide poisoning that created the brain injuries, and then the brain injury within my youngest child while giving birth. So all of it is connected together. Everything is connected. You have to watch part 1 first. And prior to that, you need to watch the other videos. That's why I'm releasing them in a certain order. You got to watch the intro videos first, the carbon monoxide poisoning first, what's going on with my mother's ongoing crimes, and the different playlists to understand what I actually deal with, what's actually going on. Most people work for somebody else and count on somebody else to generate their income and provide a weekly paycheck or a monthly paycheck or a bi-weekly paycheck. I don't have that. I've generated everything 100% myself all along prior to the injury, and that's the way it has to maintain going forward Otherwise, we don't live in the long run is the end result. We're not going to die right away. Well, unless something extreme happens, which does tend to happen sometimes, we won't die right away. What'll happen is we slowly slip away, and then we'll eventually just not be here anymore, because treatment does have to be maintained, and it costs a certain amount of money. A certain amount has to be produced in order to keep us alive, to maintain our bills, to maintain having treatment, to maintain life. So what the issue is we are still overloaded with carbon monoxide, because we have the most extreme case where the people got to live and somehow managed to make their way through it. Eventually, years later, after many, many, many daily treatments and a lot of money, got us to the quality of life we have today, although we do not technically really have that much quality of life. We had 0% for almost 5 years. It was 0% literally. And then even then, we only had a few good months a few times during this. So we live with minimal quality of life, and we live modified lives. And the only reason we're able to do that is because of my life's work in building everything myself. So there isn't other individuals out here with our condition. We have carbon monoxide overloaded in our cells at a cellular level due to the amount of time we went with no treatment in an extreme medical emergency on numerous occasions. The initial giving birth while suffering from it, then the initial overload in 2018, that had created more catastrophic life events in our systems to become more poisoned to a cellular degree, where it's got to be pressurized from the system with the hyperbaric oxygen treatments regularly to remove the initial overload, the initial injury. And then now that we can go out and about in the world, and it took some years, but now that we can go out sometimes, because we can't always go out, anything we pick up, any exposures we have to be removed regularly, basically weekly, just to maintain our position where we are in the current. That's not to move us forward any further. Not to move us forward any further, we have to do daily hyperbaric oxygen treatments at least 5 days a week with the chamber I do have, with the home chamber I do have. So I posted videos on the chamber and how it all works as well already. So you'd have to watch the videos. That's why I'm releasing them in a certain order, to understand what I'm talking about in the current and everything we've been through. But we can't take in particles of any kind. Our brain tissue is still not sealed shut either from the initial injury, where it became extreme. It broke through our brain tissue and disintegrated all of it, because we then went with no treatment for some time. So all particles that are breathed in, because we don't have a proper blood-brain barrier intact, everything breathed in, anything swallowed, injected, soaked into our skin, no matter where it comes from, how it gets in, we still have, because we do go out in the world now, because for some time we literally just had to stay homebound and couldn't go anywhere. Just treatment and back is all we were doing, and I would go to work and back a small amount until things became more catastrophic once the gas bill happened in 2021. All of that has to be removed from our systems. If we're going to continue to go out and about in the world, and I need to continue to produce income, so therefore I do need to go out in the world. So I go out in the world more than my son does. So it's harder for me to recover, because I have to continue to produce the income to keep us alive and keep everything running. In order to do that, we still have to maintain at the bare minimum 1 treatment a week, no matter what, to keep us alive. Because what happens is, if we're just going to go out and about in the world and be ignorant and not treat and not pay attention to the conditions and the environment, which are very serious factors, these are major factors in our lives that we have to pay attention to for the rest of our lives, what would happen is the stuff would just load up, and our systems would eventually take over. It takes over the oxygen at a cellular level, because it's already blocked from the carbon monoxide already in our systems and in our brains. That those particles add to it and then cut off all oxygen slowly, or if it's a bigger exposure at a rapid rate, or something sudden happens, it'll cut off all oxygen, and then we just won't be here anymore. Because it loads up. It doesn't just clear. We take in particles. It doesn't just clear. We have to actively clear what we're taking in additionally each week, on top of removing the initial overload, which can't be done with 1 treatment per week. We require about 4 or 5 minimally per week to remove the initial overload, but at least 1 treatment per week to maintain where we are in the current, just to keep us alive in the current. Now, the longer that treatment goes, we go without treatment or maintaining, the further we slip away, the less functional I am, the less I'm able to do things or go anywhere or get things done eventually, yeah, that the result is I will just slip away and I just won't be alive, because these particles are loading into what's already in our systems, and we just won't be here anymore. The entire time this injury has gone on, once I found treatment, I maintained treatment. I did everything in my power to maintain treatment, to continue to remove the initial overload, to get us to a place where we finally crossed the first threshold, then to get us to a place where we crossed several more thresholds. But I did that myself, and I maintained that ability myself, barely keeping myself alive, to do that while keeping my young son alive, who was a baby initially. So it took years of that, and extreme physical distress, day in and day out with no relief, which then creates extreme mental and emotional distress. And then when those people around you don't understand that that's what's going on, because they're also being manipulated by my malicious, criminally insane mother, who's pumping everybody up around me full of delusions, that's creating an additional problem. And then when my ex was still in my home and did not understand anything had even happened to us, that was creating further additional problems. And at the same time, all these large agencies and people are harassing me and committing crimes against me and causing more problems in our lives, to where it has gotten us to a point to where we weren't able to maintain treatment. It was probably almost 2 years ago, where we suddenly could not maintain treatment properly. We just went where we'd slipped away so far, we would just get a treatment when it was getting real urgent. But it does have to be maintained weekly in order to maintain some type of functioning and some type of quality of life. But since that all stopped and we just did treatments here and there to keep us alive, it was an extreme struggle going forward. We had taken so many steps backwards that we're trying to still come back from all of that almost 2 years ago. So here we are with my home chamber finally up and running. We've been using for the past month. So we're able to kind of slowly pick up the pieces. The problem is the chamber does not have as much pressure as the one at the center. But the center is not going to be reopening due to the crimes going on there separately from my mother's ongoing crimes. That's all separate. It's its own separate set of crimes. And I am involved in the mix of all of that as well. So I am working with people, addressing those crimes, addressing those situations. There's numerous sets of crimes that were going on there, and some that directly only pertain to me alone. So that is being addressed in the background as well, but it also ties in with my mother's crimes. So eventually everything's going to be connected. And I've directed the people who are investigating that to my channel to watch everything that has gone on. So here I am working with that situation in the background. At the same time, I'm still dealing with the fallout of all of the problems and all of the crimes long term that have disrupted everything I've been building for decades. Everything that's gone on, these are the direct actions of my mother and police officers and court systems and other large agencies who have then helped participate in all of this, believing everything, and all of her delusional phone calls along the way are real, and everything that's been said about me is real, and all of that is false information and delusions. So this is all criminal. If you watch all the videos, you'll be able to figure it out. I'm not going to stop until every single person is exposed. These people are trying to hide and act like they're not involved in the mix and just make themselves disappear. Well, the fallout's real, and I'm still living in the chaotic disaster of a mess from all these catastrophic life events that here she is in the background helping create and helping make worse. At the same time all this is going on, no, every single person is criminally involved, and they are going to be held accountable at some point or another. So I am getting there. It's just the videos have to be released in a certain order. Now, what I want to address is the fallout of the problem I have with each one of my children. So you do have to watch part 1 to understand what I'm about to talk about now. Because during all of this, there was an additional problem with each one of my children due to the manipulation, which also stems from jealousy and envy from my mother, from the paternal grandmother of my oldest child, and then separately my younger child. I more explained that in the other video, the first video, of what's gone on with him and the problems I have with him. He's not being manipulated by any of these people. He's not allowed around any of them. The problem is the condition and the fallout of all these criminal actions of all these people who've involved themselves and helped my mother along the way, and the injury itself and the effects and what we deal with. So the problems with him are completely different from the problems I have with my older 2 children. but that was more explained in the first video. So we just struggled through daily life without having daily functioning. Now that we're at a place where we're not waking up in extreme physical distress and living that way 24/7, it's a little different now, but there's been so many back-to-back catastrophic life events, and the fallout from all those are still ongoing. The problem with him is a little bit different. We just require treatment to maintain and to continue forward. So our lives are modified. That I explained more of in the first video. Watch that one first. Now I want to talk about the fallout of all these crimes and the behavior of my older two children, because those are separate problems and crimes. These are all crimes. So I'll start with the oldest child. Now he was diagnosed with high functioning autism in 2014 and in 2017 separately, two separate places. And it didn't really become known until the 2013 escapade that my mother went on. So you can view that video. I released it not that long ago as well. That began at St. Rock's Church in Flat Rock. The fallout of that and the crimes that came out of that is what caused his high functioning autism to become diagnosed, to become fully known. Although I did already know that he had a brain swelling episode at 2 months of age, and there was continuous severe problems for the first year of his life, where he did remain in an extreme state of physical distress, screaming and crying for the first year of his life. So I've lost several years of my life numerous times over again, in separate departments. So these are like spaced apart. But that happened with my oldest child. I was aware of that. That's where the autism comes in. So along the way, he maintained a relationship with his paternal grandmother, although he did not maintain one with his father going forward from the 2013 escapade, because he was involved in that. They had their own agenda. Him and the girl he was dating had their own agenda separately from my mother, but then they worked together because they each had their own agenda against me. The agenda is money. But going forward, because there's actually nobody that enforces the child custody orders and who has custody and when, the police say that the courts manage that, and they say it's a civil matter, and then the courts say the police enforce it. Actually, nobody enforces it, and they all point fingers at each other. Nobody ever actually enforces it or gets the child back. So I figured that out in 2013, and I never let his father see him again after that, due to the fact that it had wiped out 2 of my businesses, wiped out everything I was building. My mother played a role in this. You'll have to watch the 2013 escapade. I never dropped him back off with his father again. So in 2020, he became 18 years old. But approaching that time period, I had been in extreme physical distress for about 3 years straight, fighting for my own life, dealing with a baby who was suffering from the same thing, who was about 4.5 at the time. I had spent quite a bit of years with my oldest son, having to spend additional time and energy keeping him on path and getting him through each week and through school, because nobody was understanding that he had high functioning autism. I would tell each teacher that this is the problem, this is what's going on. He says he understands what's going on and that he did his homework. He doesn't look like he has autism, and he sounds like he knows what he's talking about. He just says he doesn't, and he doesn't. He physically had to be walked through each day, each step of the way, and that was never done for him, even though each year I would tell all the individuals involved, this is what's going on, this is what the problem is. I spent years doing this. This is part of the reason I had to become self-employed along the way. There was numerous times where he could not follow step-by-step instructions on what had to be gone about throughout each day. Getting himself to and from school on a bus was a problem. So that was when I became self-employed initially back in 2007, once I realized there was a serious issue. So he took a lot more time and energy all throughout all of these years. Now, when I gave birth while suffering from the carbon monoxide poisoning with my youngest son, my oldest son was then 14 years old. I had spent all those years providing additional time and energy, trying to get him through each day. After he was kidnapped by his dad and his dad's girlfriend and not returned to me, and the police don't actually enforce the order, it created all this fallout, all these problems and crimes where I lost all this additional money and caused a restart in my life. That was how we figured out he technically has high functioning autism. He didn't even understand that he was kidnapped and he shouldn't have been there. That disrupted everything I'm doing, everything I'm building. These losers had nothing going in their life, had not produced their own income in over 10 years at that point. They were just looking to take from other people. They were just mooching off other people. So At the time, my injury became extreme and I became incapacitated. My son was then 15. So this is 2018. He was 16, I believe, by the time I was completely incapacitated. Now, by this time, he had been kicked out of school for marijuana. This was the second round of it. He was already kicked out of school a few weeks prior to my injury becoming very extreme. He had already went one round of this where he had to then learn household skills, how to cook, how to clean, how to do this and that, because at the first round, I still had the baby. I already had one brain injury, dealing with a newborn baby, suffering from the same problem I am. It just wasn't known. It was just known that things were becoming harder and harder. So my older son had to learn skills then during that first round, and then once I became extremely overloaded with the carbon monoxide, here he was about 16. This is the second round of this. He's able to at least maintain cooking, cleaning, getting the things done necessary to keep our lives running, because I couldn't do any of those. I was not able to do any of those things. I didn't do the cleaning or the cooking or the laundry or any of that. It was about 4 years, I believe, until the first time that had happened. And part of that is because I had somebody working for me once I did cross the first threshold and I did finally return to work after COVID. I had somebody working for me for about 1.5 years doing all those things for me, because I still couldn't incorporate those into my life. So here, prior to that, before my son was manipulated by his paternal grandmother at the end of 2020, by then he had just turned 18 a few months prior, he was doing all of those things. So instead of doing schoolwork and doing this and that, mind you, he did finish high school. We ended up doing the last year online at home, and he was able to at least graduate. But here he was maintaining a relationship with his paternal grandmother in the background and not his father. And that's where he saw his other siblings at. She would just see them regularly, and that's where he would go. But she was actually manipulating him the whole time. Seeing that here I was instilling these life skills in him, able to do all these things, and finally getting him to a place where he was graduated, and then got him at least signed up to do 1 semester of college online, because then he qualified to get the free money from the government. It didn't matter if he did the second semester or not. He just needed to do the first one. Because putting a new driver at that time, 5 years ago, on somebody's car insurance with the assets that we have, the amount of vehicles we have, it was $2,300 additional dollars. So he needed to do at least 1 semester of college. But again, he needed to be kept in line and told what to do each step of the way every day, including the online schooling, including brushing his teeth, including like certain things he just had to be reminded to do them every day. And it took some years before he was showering every day regularly as well. That went on for some time. So here, the paternal grandmother saw I was instilling all of these skills in him. He did know how to do all these household things due to him getting suspended. That was what we had taught during that time. And then during COVID, it did take additional time to teach him how to drive. It took 2 to 3 times as long as it would a regular person before he was like able to drive like a regular person. So she saw I was instilling all of these skills in him. But then at the same time, I had signed him up for that first semester of college, which started in the fall of 2020. He still had to be told to do his work. This is the next steps going forward. This is what you have to do next. He had a little job at Kroger, not paying all that much. Doesn't matter. He's not paying any bills in my home. All he needed to do was pay for him to be on the car insurance so he could take over, because we had 3 vehicles at that time, take over the one vehicle's payment, had 6 months left. And then he could move forward and work wherever he wanted or do whatever he wanted from there. It didn't matter if he wanted to do another semester of college right then and there. He just needed to do the first one to get the additional money, because it was so much to add him to the car insurance at that time. I don't believe that's the case anymore with how they've changed the insurance laws in Michigan, but at that time, that's what it was. So the paternal grandmother was here in the background. He was still seeing her regularly. She was manipulating by using 4 phrases. She was manipulating him by saying, he's an adult, you're an adult, you're an adult, he's an adult, you don't have autism, you don't have autism. Well, he does. He was diagnosed twice, but he did go through some of the treatments with my younger son and I, and it did reverse a good portion of the problem and seal his brain tissue shut, which was also a problem. So a significant problem had been reduced, although there was still issues going forward. He took a lot of extra work and care along the way to get him to where he was. I had finally gotten him to where he was. I just couldn't go back and forth with the teachers in the school. Once I became extremely injured when he was 16, I just then had to let that go and let all of that slide and focus on keeping me and my younger son alive. And then my older son played a role in that as well. So that went on for a couple of years where he was the one doing all those things within the home to keep everything running. While here I was just struggling to keep us alive and then get to work on the weekend the little bit that I was prior to COVID, and then getting back and maintaining all of the payments and the bills and everything and building going forward. So that's what I was doing while my son was doing those things. So at the same time, she's manipulating him using these phrases. He's an adult. You're an adult. You can do whatever you want. You're an adult. And then saying, she's telling him he's an adult. He can do whatever he wants. He doesn't have autism. And then she's repeating to him how stupid I sound and how stupid I look. So what it is the level I'm on in life, my lifestyle, what I've provided, what I've built. Her children are nowhere near where I am in life. None of them ever have been. None of them ever will be. Neither is she. She is still in a subsidized unit that she's been in for probably about 40 years now, in the same unit in Concord. In Concord, the townhomes over here in Brownstown, Michigan. She's been in the same unit the entire time. Now she's mad that I own the type of home that I've owned for the past 8 years. She's mad that I won't allow her children to mooch off of me. She's mad that I wouldn't drop the child support that his dad had owed. Was about $30,000 at the time. She'd asked me to drop it at the end of 2020. And I said, no, why would I be doing it? Here I was still fighting for my life, still not even knowing if I was going to live or not, still going through daily treatment, not even knowing if I was going to cross that first threshold at the time that she had approached me with this bullshit. So here she was manipulating my son, repeating to him how stupid I look, how stupid I sound, repeating it to him over and over and over. And obviously, from the time she took him at the end of 2020, because I could not get partial guardianship because I was so injured myself, I didn't have the ability to chase down not even my own medical records, but his, where he was diagnosed with autism. I wasn't aware she was manipulating him because I was so focused, hyper-focused on keeping us alive and getting through each week alive, not even knowing if we're going to live or not. Here she was manipulating him, telling him all these things, still repeating all that bullshit to this day for the last 4.5 years now. I wasn't able to produce those documents in court because I didn't have the ability to get them once he turned 18. And here I was in a fight for my life all of that time. So no one was comprehending what I was actually dealing with my own injury and my younger son, because of the way I look. So people are judging me on the way that I look. And then because what I had said in the petition had not happened yet, they just allowed her to keep manipulating him and using him. And what she did is she saw that I instilled the life work skills to be able to hold a job, that he's been able to maintain steady employment all of this time. He's only been with 2 companies in the last 4 years. He was able to maintain that, but nothing else. Because what she began to do is right after she snatched him from me in November of 2020, convincing him he's an adult, he can do whatever he wants, and I've been stealing his money. That's what she was telling him. And no time was I ever stealing his money. I pay everything myself. Everything is mine separately. Nobody contributes anything to my household but me. It's been that way my entire life for over 20 years. So because of the home that I own, and she's jealous, and I won't let her or other people mooch off of my resources and or my time and energy, the problem is she wanted to make sure he was taken for use for her, and that he's not helping provide what I've been building, because my 2 older kids were supposed to be building on top of me. Everything was set in advance for them to build on top of me. But because of the manipulation of these jealous, envious individuals, that has not happened ever. My daughter was snatched at the end of 2021 once a Ford gas leak happened, and my mother inserted herself in that. And then the Brownstown police helped commit the crimes as well and not return my daughter to me. That has created long-term problems. I'll get to that next. Now with my older son, the issue was he really does need a partial guardian. She really has been stealing his money and manipulating him for the past 4 years. She's been charging him between $400 and $800 a month in rent. She is in a subsidized unit. He is not supposed to be living there. He has all this income. She's not supposed to be having him in her home. There's a 5-year wait list to get into a place there. So he's not supposed to be there at all. And not only that, but she's not supposed to be taking money from him. And his dad has been there as well. She's taking money from him. She's taking more from my son. And she's taking $400 to $800 a month from him. So her rent is about $450 a month, and it has been for many years, decades. And here she is charging my son that and more and pocketing the money. So initially, when she snatched him from me at the end of 2020, she was demanding I hand her one of my 3 vehicles. And I said, oh no, those vehicles don't go, the vehicle doesn't go with him. The vehicle's for him to provide and build forward in my household and build on top of me, my resources and what I've built, what I paid for, don't go with him. I paid for that vehicle with $16,000, $17,000. I paid for that. There were 6 months of payments left. $269 a month, 6 months of payments. I paid for that entire vehicle. The vehicle and the resources don't go with him. So she was demanding I hand over one of my 3 vehicles. And I didn't do that. And I said, well, he's such an adult, he's going to have to figure it out on his own because now you have nothing. So, you know, the money from the college, there was like an additional $1,000 after the classes and whatnot. It was supposed to go toward the $2,300 in car insurance. Well, because he got manipulated, I then had to hire him an attorney for the case, and the attorney lost the case, and it was like $1,500 for the attorney. So the money got used for the attorney, and then the attorney lost the case. So now he's just getting manipulated and robbed for everything he's making. He's given her all this money. Now he has no vehicle, no resources. He eventually got given a cheap vehicle by a customer. He worked at a restaurant, and an older man had this older vehicle, and it had a couple 100,000 miles on it. He gave it to him for cheap. He's been dumping money into it. It's no longer runnable, really. It's just not running anymore. There's too much. It's too old. It's not reliable. Doesn't matter. I had him set up to have a reliable vehicle going forward. All he had to do was get himself to his little job and finish that 1 semester of online college, and then he could have built forward from there and did whatever he wanted from there. Because no matter what job he had, he would have had enough to keep saving money because I don't take money from him. All he had to do was stack his money, and then he would have been able to buy his next vehicle fully paid for with cash. So since the vehicle didn't go with him, he didn't have reliable transportation. And then the one he did end up getting, because he crashed with one of her cars is what happened. Then she stopped letting him drive it after that. So going forward, he has this unreliable vehicle, but he's maintained steady employment just with the same 2 companies in the last 4 years. The problem is he needs to get into a new vehicle. So here, this vehicle's breaking down. It's all these years have gone by. He has nothing because she's been taking his money. This is over 20 grand she's taken from him in the last 4 years. That's more than enough to buy a brand new, reliable vehicle. At no time was he ever to be paying any bills in my home. All he had to do was build on top of me. But because of the high-functioning autism and the manipulation, he doesn't believe that what I'm saying is valid or real. He starts screaming her delusions at me about how stupid I look, how stupid I sound, and doesn't believe that she's manipulating him and that he's not supposed to be giving her any money at all, which is totally illegal. I've already taken the proper steps to report this numerous times. Nobody's done anything about it. And because of the court date, not only did she just take him, but she took him when he had braces on his teeth that my mother wanted to put on his teeth to gain praise and accolades to help back up these delusions that she had custody of and raised my kids. The reality is he never needed the braces. He would have been better off without them. And I almost didn't go forward with it because it's my ex's insurance that pays half for the braces, and then you just pay the additional half. But because I had put the braces on my daughter's teeth and paid the majority of that, they gave it a significant discount for that. So my mother only had to pay a little bit of money toward my son's braces, but she used that separately to manipulate those and to keep believing that she has custody of and raised these 2 kids, because there's other ongoing crimes with that separately. So when the paternal grandmother snatched him, those braces were still on his teeth. And I told the court, I said he still has to be kept in line and told to brush his teeth every day. He still has braces on his teeth. And here's the paternal grandmother. He's an adult. He's an adult. He's an adult. He can do what he wants. She sounds stupid. She sounds stupid. Yeah, I sound and look so fucking stupid. That's why I live where I live and have what I have after everything I've fucking been through. After I dug my way out of 27,000 holes and got myself to where I am today and still own the house that I had today, I look so stupid. I'm 100% self-made, self-built. I look so stupid. So that's funny because she's still repeating this bullshit to him, because this just happened last week. Now here's the problem. My son needed to borrow my vehicle to get to his job that he's been able to maintain. He shows up at my house telling me his car is not going to run much longer. Yeah, duh, it's got 230-some thousand miles on it. Of course it's not going to run much longer. That's known. It's known that cars don't last that long. So because she's taken all of his money, he doesn't have any money saved to go buy a vehicle. And then not only that, but there's been a problem with his teeth because he hasn't been to the dentist since she took him from me because he's such an adult. He hasn't been to the dentist since he was snatched from me. Now, we are all still on my ex's insurance, including my oldest son that's not his. We have top-of-the-line benefits, top-of-the-line insurance, We have better benefits than the big three. He works for AT&T. We have top of the line benefits. All it takes is him to take his ass to the dentist. It's all free as long as you maintain the appointments and you maintain your teeth. Those 6-month visits are free. Not only that, the dental care, whatever, it's still minimal money out of pocket. So he hasn't been to the dentist at all since she snatched him because he's an adult. Okay, so if he's such an adult, then he would have been at the dentist all this time. So he finally gets a dentist appointment, had to have 2 of his wisdom teeth removed in an emergency. The braces did come off. My mother ruined his teeth by putting them on, and the other grandmother ruined him by... He's an adult, doesn't need to be told to brush his teeth. He's somebody that's got to be kept in line and told what to do each day to keep things moving forward because of the high-functioning autism. It is diagnosed twice. We can go get court orders and order these documents. However, I don't have the funds to play this bullshit because everything... Watch video number 1. I don't have the capacity to add that bullshit in. But the documents do exist, and I do have some documents from Oxford when he did treat with us in the chamber that state he was diagnosed, blah, blah, blah. I do have those. Now, problem with his teeth. He had to have the emergency wisdom teeth removed a couple weeks ago in the emergency visit. And then further, going forward, he had to have another appointment because his front teeth are black. He may lose the front teeth. There is another visit scheduled for him to go take care of that. But because the paternal grandmother is pumping him up full of delusions that he's such an adult, he can do whatever he wants, now he has nothing, and he has even more of nothing. He's further in the hole than when she snatched him 4 years ago. And it took me his entire life to get him to the point where he could finally have some life skills and be able to build forward. And then me being in the position I'm in, being able to allow him to build on top of me. Well, she wanted to make sure that he is not participating in what I'm building and what I've provided because she's jealous and envious that I won't let none of them have any of my resources, time, and energy and access to any of that, that she wants to make sure he's not a part of that and he has nothing with them. So now, he has black teeth. He may lose them. I don't know what's going to happen or if he's even going to make it to the dental appointment. And that should have never happened in the first place. Both grandmothers maliciously played a role in what's wrong with his 2 front teeth. Because I'm 41 and I got all my fucking teeth. I've never gotten a tooth pulled since I had my wisdom teeth electively removed before they ever grew in at age 15 that my parents did without my consent. I didn't have a choice. They made me do it. I've never had a tooth pulled a day in my life. There's nothing wrong with my fucking teeth, and I'm 41. So somebody that's 22 should not have anything wrong with their damn teeth. Not only that, the father's been missing his front teeth for over 15 years now. So you see a clear problem here of how these bottom feeders took my son that has high-functioning autism, put him on the bottom with them, and have been manipulating him and stealing all of his money for him to never have anything so they can pocket everything he's working for. So he's scraping by, barely getting by each week, handing them everything he's got so he will never have anything. Not only that, she doesn't own the place. That is a government subsidized unit that she will never own. It doesn't get handed down. Once she's dead, he's still going to be left coming back, landing on my lap at some point anyway. That's going to be the end result of that. Not only that, he's still going to have nothing. So she's manipulated him out of all of that. His teeth are permanently messed up for the rest of his life due to both grandmothers' actions. And I don't know if he's even going to make it to that dentist appointment. But the problem is, I spent all those years getting him to a place where he can build a life and live some type of normal life and move forward. But because she snatched him with 1 month of the online classes left, she's telling him he's an adult, he doesn't have to he can do whatever he wants. Well, I told the court that he has to be kept in line every day on doing those things because she told him he didn't have to do any of that. He didn't finish that 1 month of classes, and now he owes $1,400 back to the government for that free money that was a grant that shouldn't have had to be paid back just because he didn't finish that last month because she took him with the 1 month left and made him think he can do whatever he wants. He doesn't have to do it. So I go pick him up on his day off on Tuesday because here he was using my car for about a week. This went on for about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, disrupting my time and my energy and everything I have going on. I have 2 to 4 times more on my plate than I can handle. I got 20, 30 balls in the air. I'm already having trouble picking up the pieces of my own life from my own injury. That's why my son was about to be put in a reliable vehicle to build forward with his life. So I could not let that go with him. It ended up going to a friend of mine because that can't happen. Well, now the vehicle's long gone. Some time has gone on. You can't get it back. Can't go backwards in time. So now he needs a reliable vehicle. Well, he does have longevity at his job, so I took him to a used car dealership to go get pre-approved for a used car, just so he could get something more reliable so he can get himself to and from work. Well, we get there, and they run his credit, and they see how he owes the money back to the government, and due to that, because it's a government situation, that doesn't go off your credit ever. You have to pay it off. Well, he's never going to do that, and she's got him convinced that he just wasn't supposed to go to college ever, and got him saying, well, I didn't want to go to college. Didn't matter if you want to go to college. Going to college is one thing. Taking one semester of prerequisites is not considered going to college. They're two separate things. All you had to do was the one semester just to get the money so that way you could get on the car insurance and have a reliable vehicle going forward. You can do whatever you want from there, and you can build from there. But because she made sure he didn't finish those classes, and we get to this car dealership, they want $1,400 or so, plus tax, title, plates, and insurance. And so it would have been a couple grand to get him into the new vehicle regardless. Well, he has nothing because she keeps taking his money. Every payday, she's taking his money. He's giving her all this money and believes that he's supposed to, being manipulated in the fact that that's what he's been supposed to be doing all this time. So he continues to do this. So he has nothing, had no money, doesn't have that type of money down. And the problem was he's showing up at my house, wanting to use my car to get to work because his work is far. I just paid my car off. Due to the long-term crimes, manipulation of all these people, my mother at the root, the paternal grandmother, and everything going on with each one of my kids and the injury, I am under Chapter 13 bankruptcy due to the amount of crimes that have gone on. I have just paid my vehicle off. Technically, I own 2 vehicles. The other one is almost paid for. But the other one, my ex drives. He doesn't even drive it that frequently because he drives his work truck. Either way, the one I've been responsible for in driving, because we've switched back and forth numerous times, but the one that I've been paying on, the one I have most invested in, the one I've done all the work on and whatever, is paid for now. So now here he is, showing up, wanting to borrow my vehicle, or expecting me to go pick him up at her house and then let him use because I don't have the time, because I have all these other things I have to address. I don't have time to stop what I'm doing, spend an hour out of my day, pick him up, take him to work, come back, go back when he's done, get him. I ain't got time for that shit. I'm still picking up the pieces of my life from my initial medical emergency and everything I have going on and all the fallout of the ongoing crimes. I don't have time for that. So here he's expecting me to either drive him and pick him up and do this, or what I've been doing is I just make him drop me back. I drop myself back off at home, let him take the car to work and back, and then at the end of the day he comes back and I drive him back to his nana's. I let it go on for almost 2 weeks. So that's when I said, on your day off, this is what we're going to do. This is what you have longevity. You're going to go get yourself into a new car. But because she's taking all his money, he doesn't have any money. And now there's this bullshit on his credit because he got told he didn't have to finish the college because he can just do whatever he wants. He's an adult. He didn't have to do this or that. Okay, so now it's on there. It's not going to come off. It's significantly affecting his credit. So I wasn't going to let that bullshit go on with my resources in my car. For some reason, this woman seems to think that my vehicle and my resources are available to provide for her household, which is not going to fly. It's not going to go on. I just didn't want him to lose his job because he has longevity and he likes his job, whatever. So I let it go on, take him to the used car dealership. We figure out that's what's on his credit. That's why he can't get into a car. And then we're having an additional problem because he works at a dispensary. It's not federally legal, so they don't want to provide car loans for people. So some car dealerships will. So it's hard to find. But now you got the problem with the money being owed back for the student grant that should have never been owed back in the first place. So as soon as he gets told that, what he does in the dealership, he starts screaming at me how stupid I look. So now he's repeating her delusions, how stupid I look, how stupid I sound, how he doesn't have autism. He's an adult. He can do whatever he wants. Okay, you're such an adult. Then why are you in the boat that you're in? You're further in a hole than you were 4 years ago the day you left my house. But because I've been in extreme chaos dealing with all these crimes, piggybacking off each other, all these catastrophic life events, piggybacking off each other, barely keeping myself and my younger son alive, I didn't have the capacity to further address that situation for some time. So now here we are, the problem has landed right back on my lap. Just like I told the court initially, if they didn't give me a partial guardianship, this was going to become my problem in the future. Here we are on that fucking day. Here we are today, at that fucking time. Now it's back on my lap. He's wanting to borrow my resources to get to work to provide for her, which is not happening. So that's why I took him to the car dealership. He can't get into a vehicle. He's screaming at me in the whole place, and everybody's staring at me, and they're all appalled by what he's saying to me. How stupid I look. Listen to how stupid I sound and how stupid I look. Do you know how stupid I look? My vehicle is paid for. Not only that, I own 2 vehicles. The other one's almost paid for. I own a mini mansion and another house in Ohio that's paid for as well. I look stupid. I might be under Chapter 13 bankruptcy, but all that means it's the restructuring of your finances and you pay it all back and you keep everything. My assets are up here. My debt is down here. It's all restructured is all that means. Doesn't mean I lose everything. I'm still in my house that she's jealous of, that I won't let anybody mooch off of. Still have my vehicles. Everything's almost paid for. What I owe on the house is like half of what it's worth. So it doesn't make any sense. He's sitting here screaming how stupid I look. This is what this woman has been repeating to him since she snatched him from me 4 years ago about how stupid I sound and how stupid I look. I know I look so stupid. I'm half this bitch's age, but I'm way ahead of her in life. I was ahead of her in life at age 18. I owned my first home at age 18 and a new vehicle. At age 18, I had more than her back then. I'm 41. I'm several houses deep at this point, numerous vehicles in, several houses deep. And I look stupid, apparently. So she's so jealous and envious that she's been pumping up my son, telling him how stupid I sound and how stupid I look. And here he is in the dealership because of the high-functioning autism, and because she's been manipulating him, he believes her. So he's screaming this bullshit at me in the dealership. Now, mind you, on that day, I had enough money to front him the money until his next payday to at least get him in the vehicle. I just didn't tell him that. Because of her and her actions and what she does to him, I was not going to tell him that until worse came to worse. And depending on his behavior and what all came out of this situation, I could have gotten him into the vehicle that day. Now, because he's now screaming at me how stupid I sound and how stupid I look in front of all these fucking people, I was like, yeah, I know I look so stupid. That's why I live where I live. I run everything myself. Been building everything myself all this time, even with everything I've been through. I've managed to hold on, doing it all myself. I sound so stupid. I look so stupid. So if you look at the actual facts and you go back and you look at all my videos and everything I've been through, everything I've built along the way, you're going to see how fucking stupid I really look, because I'm still ahead of everybody else in life. And that's what this woman can't understand. Or she does understand. She just wants to make sure he doesn't understand that. So she's controlling his thought process on what I'm doing in life, what I've been building, where I'm at, the level I'm on. I'm way up here. They're way down here. These are facts. Straight up facts. Not I'm better than you. Because that's not really a thing in my world. I stay focused on what I got to stay focused on. But in this case, in this situation, I'm up here, you're down here. That's why you all have nothing. That's why he's over here with nothing, because you're manipulating him into having nothing, because you don't want him to be where I am in life. And you certainly don't want him helping provide what I built. You want to make sure I struggle more. That's fine. It didn't matter. My son never paid any of my bills in the first place, ever along the way. So why would I be counting on his income at any point during this? So now he has nothing. So we left the dealership with nothing. Literally nothing. So then, I know he's screaming at me the whole ride back, all the way back to her house, having a whole fight in front of her house. She actually comes out in the rain screaming at me about, oh, don't worry about it. I'll get him to work. Yeah, you will get him to work. My resources are not available to provide for your loser-ass household. My resources are for my household and my children who are building with me to build on top of me and help provide for what I've been building all of these years. Now, all 3 of them should be building with me, but they're not, because they've all been manipulated except for my youngest. That's why his name is now on my house with mine. His name is the other person. And if I die, he gets the whole thing. So because of where all the manipulation and where things were on the day that it was changed to that, he was the only one on my team and not manipulated when that happened. That's why it only went in his name. Because legitimately, it could have been split 3 ways legally on the paperwork, but I didn't make it that way because of the manipulation of the other 2. So he's screaming about how stupid I look in front of her house. Here she is screaming, running off her porch, coming toward the car, talking about how stupid I am and how, don't worry about it, then I'll get him to, yeah, you are going to get him to work. You created the entire problem, lady. You created this mess. You created all the problems he's having. You are going to get him to work. You are responsible for him. You took him from me. So yes, a partial guardianship is still needed. Now everything I had said in the initial paperwork and petition has all played out to this day, and everything I said was going to happen has now happened, and now I have the proof. Because not only that, but the wisdom teeth pulling, he didn't have the $71 that was owed to do that, so that came out of my pocket as well. It was necessary, needed, whatever, I paid for that. Everything I said was going to happen has now happened. So I kicked him out of my car. I said, you can get the fuck out of my car. Go live your loser-ass lifestyle with your loser-ass family. You want to keep listening to them? Oh, I don't listen to them. Then why the fuck are their delusions and everything they say, all those dumb remarks out of their mouth over jealousy and envy because I'm up here and they're down here, and that's all coming out of your mouth? They're mad because I'm 100% self-made, self-built, still am where I am today after everything I've fucking been through. So these losers have my son, and they are creating further problems. A partial guardianship is needed. And now I'm waiting on the police report that I initially made, because I had to make all that in the police report back in 2020. Now I'm waiting on that document to be ready for pickup. This is all provable now to this degree of what's all gone on and how she's taken all his money. She actually needs charges put on her, because at no time should he have ever been in her home in the subsidized unit where there's a 5-year wait list of single mothers with children waiting on this list for her unit, and manipulating my son into giving her all this money that he doesn't belong giving her. And now he can't even get himself into a reliable vehicle due to all the manipulation, but yet I'm the one who looks stupid. So for some reason, she thought I was going to allow him to continue to use my car to get to work and or my time and energy and drop what I'm doing while I have all these other serious situations I'm dealing with, and I was just going to go stop what I'm doing, pick him up, get him there. If I had the capacity and the ability to do all that, I would get a little jobby job myself and be making more money than what I do and doing more than what I do the way I did my whole life. If that was a possibility, I would be doing that for myself. So it makes no sense. All of these jealous, envious, manipulative grandparents are up in the mix creating the problems. Now, the paternal side of my other two children is not involved in any of this. They're completely separate. They mind their own business. They keep to themselves. They don't insert themselves in our lives. There is no problem with them. Now, the problem with my daughter is my mother. So my mother has been manipulating her for some decades as well, and using my dad to do it. So before my dad's injury a couple years ago, he used to pick her up regularly. She'd go back to their house. Here my mother was pumping her up full of delusions all along the way, all throughout my injury, creating all these 911 calls, CPS calls, all this delusion, screaming, chaos, conflict, all going on in my house during all these years while I'm fighting for my life. My mother's behind all of it, using my daughter to do it. And, there's people who can verify this shit. I'm not making any of this up. I'm not over-exaggerating any of it. There's been at least 3 doors in my home that have been ripped off and came off in pieces over the physical fighting and the delusion screaming and the bullshit that have come up out of here. And over the course of the time I've owned this home, so in the past 8 years. So now that's going on separately. And because she was snatched from me in 2021 during the 4 gas bill, which my mother inserted herself in, and made sure my daughter was kidnapped during that time. And now, remember, I got this all dragged into Charmaine's office to prove that she was actually kidnapped by my parents, and the police are involved and refused to return my daughter. So there's proof of all of this. And there's a very credible witness who has watched all of this as well. So that all happened back then. She stayed truant for 1.5 years from school. The father actually got charged with the truancy. And I have police reports in 3 different cities, because the school district is in a different city than my actual city I live in. So there's police reports in 3 cities, and Flat Rock, Michigan, and Brownstown, Michigan police departments are involved in the crimes and making sure my daughter did not get returned to me. Now, due to the extreme nature of what was going on with the gas spill and how my younger son and I were fighting for our lives, living with our brains bleeding, on the run for our lives for a couple months, and then living on the floor with our brains bleeding until I bought my other home, the problem is my daughter stayed truant the entire time. She stayed getting manipulated the entire time. And because the father has a substance abuse issue and is not with the reality of any of the situation, which Charmaine can verify, that's why she removed him from my home initially, that's part of the problem as well. He plays an individual role because he's not really with what's actually going on. So he's just listening to what my daughter's saying without having any facts and believing what's coming out of her mouth. But what comes out of her mouth doesn't matter who she's talking to. What comes out of her mouth is delusions repeated by my mother. So because she was truant all that time, she said something about she graduated last year. I don't really have the facts. I don't know. It doesn't matter. She's been so far manipulated that she is not able to build on top of me either. Because not only that, after my dad had his injury, he had a brand new truck in 2019. So he then bought it in 2021. I thought he bought it initially in 19. I guess he leased it. Then he bought it in 2021. So there's payments owed until 2027. My daughter was gifted that truck at age 17. So she's gifted this truck. She was almost 18 when she got it. Finally got her license right before she turned 18. Everything got held up and backed up because of all of these crimes. So she gets gifted a brand new vehicle, and I tell her 2 years ago, because actually I'm the one who got it. I did go get it from his work after his fall. I put it in their garage. My car had some incidences happen to it. I'd never even had to make a car insurance claim ever in my life until now. I had to make one 2 years ago. So during that time, my dad was still fully with it. He said I could have the truck, whatever. It took about a month to get the work done on the vehicle. I used it for about a month, and then my daughter had gotten her license, and then it was gifted to her. So my parents technically maintained the payments on it and whatnot, whatever. That's their vehicle. It's under their names and whatever. So it gets given to my daughter. She's almost 18, and I tell her 2 years ago after I was done using it for that month, and I said, listen, I've worked for everything I have in my life. Your dad has worked for everything he has. We were teenagers working. We were teenagers with kids, and we had our own homes. We've worked for everything we fucking have. We were never gifted any vehicles by anybody. Here she gets gifted a vehicle. I tell her, vehicles don't last forever. You better go get a job and maintain it because it's got to be maintained. Vehicles don't last forever. Here we are. It's got 120,000 miles on it. The brakes need to be done. And now it's 2 years later, and she's expecting me to pay for it. And this is all going on in the same week, same 2 weeks, that my son is having vehicle issues, wanting to use my vehicle to get to and from work. This is going on at the same exact time. Now here, my daughter's been warned in advance. You've been gifted a vehicle, a brand new one at that should last a very long time as long as you don't drive like an asshole. But what's she been doing? Driving like a fucking asshole. Driving it like a truck driver in a truck, cutting people off left and right. So then I had to have a whole conversation with her on that. Not only are you putting wear and tear on the vehicle that's unnecessary, there are people out here driving around with brain injuries, people that have certain conditions. The way you drive like that, you're going to cause an accident. It's going to cause issues within other drivers. You can't do that. So I don't know if she's still driving around like that. She was at one point. Point being, the brakes need to be done. This was all going on during the same couple weeks. And now on to the point where she had 2 years to go get a job. Not only that, she doesn't pay any bills either. Now you've been gifted a brand new vehicle, and neither one of them pay. Well, my son is a different story. He's paying her bills, not getting anywhere because she doesn't own anything. Just he's getting taken advantage of all day, every day. My daughter has not paid any bills at any point during this. She is still dependent on my taxes, has been her entire life. So here she is, doing nothing, all of these months, doing nothing, creating more problems within my household, creating more chaos. I don't know if she's been in contact with my mother regularly or not. I don't really give a fuck. It's not my problem at this point. Neither one of those kids can be trusted to build on my team. At this point, they're liabilities. So I view them as liabilities because I'm self-made, self-built, producing all my own income, building and providing everything for myself and building forward, generating my own income all of this time and going forward. So they are viewed as liabilities because of their behavior, their actions, what they're doing. Those are liabilities. They are not helping, and they were handed the keys to success, both of them individually and together, handed the keys to success, and both of them flushed it down the toilet, all because their manipulative grandmothers had manipulated the shit out of them into believing all these delusions and screaming them at me and playing all these games along the way. Doesn't matter. My daughter is fully able-bodied, not autistic, not a brain injury. Nothing is wrong with her. Gifted a whole vehicle. All you had to do was get a job 2 years ago. And then I told her at one point, because I'm under Chapter 13 bankruptcy, I finally got my friend to get her a job a few months ago, which she's had. So she doesn't have any bills. None of her bills are paid by her. So what's the problem here? Why can't the brakes get fixed? I guess it's been over a month now, because then she also tried to take my vehicle during this time numerous times. And I put a stop to both of this bullshit, both lines, right away. I put a stop to that shit right away. So after that, she didn't come back to my house. You didn't come back to my house? Why? Because I live a regular life and an above average lifestyle, and I'm building and providing, and I'm building success from the ground up, have been for decades, while I keep getting disrupted while all these crimes are going on. And I tell you, you got to be on the team or off the team. It's not somewhere in between. It's not create more problems so I have more fucking problems. Here she is in the background creating more problems, still has not gotten the brakes fixed. She has a little jobby job. She has for over a couple months now. There's no reason she has not been able to pay to get the brakes fixed herself. On top of the fact that I have all these other problems going on. The bankruptcy court sees she's still dependent on my taxes, wanting to know if she's gotten a job yet, wanting her to provide something in some direction, and she's still not even doing that, and she's still not even fixing the vehicle that needs fixed that you were warned 2 years in advance when it was gifted to you, what was going to happen and what you needed. So the issue here is that she needs to get everything together, get everything in line, and get it flowing so the truck is running. And she needs to be saving her money because she has no bills, but she's also not on my team either. So neither one of my older kids are on my team, just my youngest, and no one's helping me build or provide. All they do is create more problems, but then want me to pay to fix things. So there's a problem with both of them wanting me to pay to fix things. That's not possible. You went against me for so many years. Each one individually went against me for so many years that I don't have the ability to go backwards with the injuries I've suffered from and the condition I live with and how we're forced to live and how we're forced to build going forward and what I've had to do to get everything in line. I don't have the ability to go backwards and keep playing this restart game while you create problems and you haven't been on my team not one step of the way during any of this. I don't have the ability to do that. So you put yourself in a boat, each one individually, where you need to pick up what the heck is going on and fix the shit and get the problem situated to move forward. So now I can't build my life properly while addressing these other issues and them thinking that they're going to take from me while I'm under Chapter 13 bankruptcy and they continue to create problems. That's not a possibility. And no one's comprehending that. Each one wants to take reward without effort, reward without effort, reward without effort, all of them. And here's my mother putting my daughter on her tax return this year as if she actually has custody of her. It's to help back up how she's got custody of her. I'll get more of that in its own video. But then it took additional time to get my tax return back because I had to prove to them that, hey, she's been on my taxes her whole life. This lady's a deranged lunatic and she's got ulterior motives and there's crimes behind why that's the case. So I'll get more into that in its own video. But she doesn't have any bills. She has a job. There's no reason the brakes shouldn't be done already. I just found out yesterday they're not done. They should have been done over a month ago. There's no reason she can't afford to pay for them. It's not spend all your money on bullshit and food and weed and blah, 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 and that's it. I've spent everything I've ever worked for on providing a clean, stable home for myself and be able to build success from the ground up at a very young age as a teenager. That's what I've been doing all of these decades. There is no reason either one of these kids should be off blowing everything they have and not have anything when they don't even pay bills properly. And my son's money should not be being taken by the paternal grandmother in the first place. But that's its own separate situation due to the high-functioning autism. My daughter does not have that. So there is no reason that she cannot provide for herself and do the things that she needs to do to maintain building forward with the tools they were each given. They were each given individual tools, and each one is flushing the tools down the toilet and then turning back to me like I'm supposed to fix the problem when they've created so much chaos and destruction and all these problems and crimes have occurred and all these agencies have helped that I don't have the ability to bend over backwards and say, okay, here, let me help you. I don't have the ability to do it because of the crimes that everybody has participated in, my children included. They are not on my team. There's a very serious issue here. It is not normal for other people to insert themselves in somebody's life who is further ahead in life than them and say, oh no, you come over here and do this for me. You do this. Oh no, it's this way because I said so. Your mom's so dumb. Your mom's this, your mom's that. No, your mom's ahead of everybody else is the fucking problem. And these people are all jealous and envious. Both grandmothers individually, jealous and envious of everything I've been building, what I've worked for, how the fuck I managed to even get out of the goddamn pickle I was in the first place, and how I even managed to get myself to where I am today, still after everything that's happened. And now both my kids are manipulated to an extreme degree, seeming to think that I'm just going to pick up the pieces because they've created so much destruction. I don't have the ability to participate and help pick up any pieces because of the amount of crimes you participated in long term, because each one situation has gone on for years each. So now I don't have the ability to help. Yeah, I'm pissed off because this has been going on for some time. It's only a matter of time before I made this damn video and let that shit blow because I'm pissed. Because I had it planned from the time they were young children that they were going to build on top of me. And now neither one of them are part of my team. They're not building with me. They're not building on top of me. They create more problems. And they don't even want to listen to the simple instructions with the keys to the success they were handed. Don't even want to use them properly. And now they both have nothing. Both have problems. but looking at me like I'm the fucking problem. I know, I look so stupid. I look so stupid with my paid for car, the other one that's almost paid for, the house I live in, and the other one that's paid for. I know how stupid that looks. Most people never even make it to where I am in life. This shit is ridiculous. I'm irritated as fuck. That's why I was getting to filming this video. I've been working on getting to filming this video. It just took me some time. But now I see some more of what's going on and what has to happen going forward. I don't know what you want me to do about it. I can't make any moves because everybody's crimes and actions has backed me into a corner where I'm forced to do the most necessary tasks and address the most necessary. I can't take on the additional bullshit. I don't have the bandwidth to take on the additional bullshit. You guys both dug your own graves. That's where I'm at with it. Anybody want to make any stupid comments about what I've said and what I've been doing and how I've been parenting my fucking kids? Fuck off. I'll be back with another one. Thanks.